Oh, welcome to the Small Business Podcast Breakthrough, where we are interviewing guests every week that are helping small businesses thrive throughout the country. And today we have a special guest on, Kyla McVane Salon from, and I messed up her name already, so I'm going to fix it right now. It's Kyla. I got it right. McVane Salon from, who's the founder and CEO of Clearly Creative, and she is out of Florida. But here's what's unique about Kyla is that she is building a social media marketing agency, but it's built out of the love of connecting with people. And I've already had a really engaging conversation with Kyla before we got on the podcast. And now we're going to get to learn more about her. Kyla, welcome to the podcast.
Hi. Thank you for saying my name right.
Hey, I will even leave the mess up in just so that we got a little entertainment for the guests. Yeah. Kyla, give us a quick introduction as to your inspiration around starting Clearly Creative Co. and what and how you are helping your love to connect with people.
So I've been working in marketing my whole career. And I noticed, especially when I started working more in the social media world, that whatever was performing the best and whatever was resonating the best with anyone's audience, whether you were any type of industry, any type of size business, were was content or messaging that was based out of connection with other people. And so basically just humanizing as much as possible, obviously while remaining on brand and keeping all of that professional. And so when I decided to take the leap of faith and open my own business, I said, I want to make sure that I keep this at the forefront because regardless, it was kind of it was conscious but also unconscious because I am a person that thrives on connection and I will look for connection with people because I think that that's the easiest way to connect with people. It just comes naturally to me. And so when I incorporated that into my marketing and in the process that we do things while also incorporating, the science of marketing, we get our clients results. Our relationship is great. And then their audience also really, really appreciates the content that they're putting out. So everyone's happy.
Creating a connection with your audience and helping your clients create connections with audiences is definitely a powerful thing and strong for helping build brands. But let's dive into a little bit around why you like to connect with people. So you haven't always been in Florida. You had a little bit of a unique upbringing being an immigrant to the US. Tell us a little bit about that story.
Oh my gosh, you remembered. Okay. So yeah, I'm not from here. If you don't hear an accent, I'm working really hard to get rid of it. And I was very shy growing up. I am from Guatemala in Central America. And my parents, it's very common for people in Central America to come get their higher education in the US. So my parents both did that. We came to vacations here. It's not an unfamiliar country. And the economic system, the situation was not the safest in 2010 when we moved. So my parents packed us up and moved us to the middle of nowhere, central Pennsylvania. It was, to paint you a picture, it's kind of like the movie Mean Girls. Like I have a couple nice friends still. Everyone ended up being super nice, but it was very hard because everyone was like, why aren't you tan? And, why isn't your skin darker? And why do you speak like Sofia Vergara? And where is Guatemala? And like all these different things. And people, I'm like, oh my God, have you not read a map? On top of that, it was very much like the English that I learned. I went to an American school. I knew English, not the same English, like the expressions that people had, the slang. And so there was no other way of me surviving than like being like, well, hello. One day I was like, well, here I go. Because if not, there would be, I would still be that shy girl, like sitting in class, scared to present. So that really forced me out of like my shell. And then now that's really helped me with my work now because I have to pitch people, I have to go up to people, I have to go networking events, I have to get rejected. And now I have no issue talking to anyone, messing up, you know.
So if you're listening to this and you're listening to this story of how she overcame being able to get in and adapt and from being shy to being engaging. My first conversation with Kyla, was very interesting. I used a couple of expressions. Like one was getting over, I don't want to get over the front of my skis. Well, I'm from Montana and, it's in the snow and skiing. If you get over your ski tips, you are going tumbling down the mountain instead of skiing down the mountain. And so she was always inquisitive, like, what does that mean? And so working with somebody like Kyla, it's so enlightening to be able to work with somebody that is very inquisitive and asking those questions, and they don't just assume they know what they're talking about, which I think gives you a huge plus inside of it. What would you say is, if you're looking through that part of your business where you're having to interview people, get to know them, how has that really led you to your success? And has there been any challenges with that as you've worked with your clients?
Ooh, okay. Well, what I will say is I always end up explaining this to people because marketing is a very subjective field. Like, as long as your client is getting the results that they want, however you get there, there's no right or wrong unless obviously you're doing like bad things, right? So I think that in these 3 years that I've had my business, because I'm still relatively new, one of the biggest things I've learned is the importance of like not only compatibility with your clients, but also how do you say, like, the connection that you have with the person that you're dealing with as a client, right? Because at the end of the day, the same thing that I say about social media is like we're all people. Like, I'm a person working with another person, and then we're trying to get other people to either buy from you, like, you trust you, whatever type of thing we're doing. And if we don't vibe, and if we don't like connect well, then that sets us up as at a disadvantage. And so when I'm vetting people that I work with, whether they be like employees or future employees or collaborations like this, or even new clients, my first thing is like, do I like this person? And after having to, move from another country, and then after that, I proceeded to decide very quickly that I hated the cold. So I came to university here that was very international. And then after that, I moved here to Miami. So I've moved many times and I've hit reset and been around new people many times so that now I can pick up on, I hate using this word, but like the vibes of people. And so that for me is the biggest, like, yes, no, like, okay, trusting your gut. So I use that a lot when I'm deciding on who to work with. And then I can't remember what your second part of the question was. I don't know if I answered it.
What challenges have you come across
Oh,
when
challenge.
you're running through, like, if is trusting your gut is definitely something that I've talked about in the past. So, and definitely inside of, when you're working with somebody, whether that's an employee or client, if you trusting your gut is a big thing. What has been some of the challenges that that has brought up?
Oh, um, I sometimes choose to ignore my gut. And I try to be like, oh, well, they are XYZ, or oh, maybe, I also, I don't know if this is related or not, but I think deep down, like, every person is like good, right? Like, I think there's no such thing as a bad person. And this is another conversation for another day. But so then that sometimes can blind me, where it's like, okay, great. I can think they're a good person. I can think they're awesome. I can think this. I just have to like listen to my gut. So I guess I've worked on that tool to listen better. And it's helped me a lot more, and it also makes it easier because I can just say, "Okay, this is what I'm using it more as a compass because it ends up being right."
Yeah, definitely being able to listen to your gut and move through that and not let the goodness. We want to believe that everybody is good. That is like that's the sign of a good-natured person, is the fact that you want to see the good in others. The challenge is that it's not a true statement. It's true to us. We want to believe it, but it's not a true statement as to how we were created. That's where that gut instinct comes in. I was like, how do you work through and listen to the gut and not let that blindness, as you put it, which is a great way to phrase it. Let's be real. You didn't start your business to feel stuck, overwhelmed, or bored out of your mind. But yet, here you are, spinning, stalled, or just chasing every shiny object just to stay motivated. And I know exactly how you feel because I used to do the same thing. But that's why I built the Momentum community for founders like you. It's for people who are ready to get serious, simplify, and build a business that actually moves forward. It uses peer accountability, and it's what I used to be able to grow my business successfully and have a great exit. Does sound like something you need? Click the link in the description below and let's have a conversation. Enjoy the rest of the show. You're working on your love of connecting with people. You're working through and building your company up, and it's going well. You're growing the company. What's a recent project or initiative that has really just reinvigorated or given you a ton of energy and been exciting to work on?
Ooh, I don't know. Okay. I think honestly, I don't mean this to selfish or self-centered or anything at all, but I started in May. I kind of like looked at everything. I like zoomed out of my company, or I think it was the end of April, beginning of May. And I was like, it's been 2 years. Like, what do I like? Where, how am I close to my goals? Why am I not? What needs to change? Whatever. And obviously, as I know we discussed in our first call, you were like, hey, if you run a social media agency, like, why don't you have thousands of followers? And I'm like, that's because I have put the needs of my clients before mine. And so in May, which is something that like I think every single business owner and or agency owner I've spoken to like suffers from at some point. So that made me feel a little better. But no excuse. So then I still said, okay, I had transitioned from having an intern to hiring her part-time. And so I was like, okay, how can we put the same energy that we put into our clients to ourselves? Like we have to be our most important, needy, and annoying client that we must take care of before anyone else. And so once we started like pouring into the company and like focusing on the connection we have with our audience and then letting our personality shine through like our emails, our social media content. I started putting myself out there too on like more interviews and just letting people get to know us that way. It like filled me with life. And then we bring all of that energy and that ideas and things we see into clients, other new clients. So, I mean, I don't know, making a good reel or finishing a content calendar for me will always be like, I can die now. I'm great.
So you're working on yourself. And you found lots of energy in that, and that's awesome that you have been able to gain excitement inside of that. And you said putting yourself out there. So if you're working with a new client trying to have a conversation with a new client in a possible engagement, what do you say to the clients that are like, oh, I don't want to put myself out there. I'm not for social media. They use this, I'll use this euphemism as the right terminology, but they're like, this face was not made for social media. What would you say to those clients to help work them through that? Really, that has nothing to do with it. And it's all about just shining through that personality and showing people that you're authentic and real.
Well, the first thing I would say is every face is made for social media. If you have a company and you want to market it, which is why we're having, like in that case, we'd be having a conversation and you know that you need to do things to make your business grow. There is no way for it to grow if you don't put, if you don't like let your connection, your authenticity through your content. Because if there's a block there and you're like, oh, apply now, like sell now, I'm hiding, it's not, the connection is not there, which is the point of this whole conversation. There will be no connection. So I'm like, I'll kind of, never force them to do anything that they don't want to do, but I will kind of start slowly saying like, okay, well, how about we do this type of content where maybe not showing your face, but we have text over it or something, and then eventually warm it up, because what happens there is you see immediately the results. Like content that has a person on it versus content that doesn't, it performs better because we are people. And also we are behind walls, we are behind phones, we are in our apartments, in our offices, whatever. Whenever you see people, it's kind of like, oh, great, I can connect, like subconsciously. And so I would just kind of like walk them through it and then use the analytic as we start doing it as a guide, saying like, hey, see, it's not just me saying it, like your audience also likes you. And then eventually it's a matter of not being comfortable. And I'm only saying that because that happened to me. At one point, I was like, I don't want to be on camera. I don't like to listen to myself on camera. I'm just going to do content, whatever. And then back to that turning point in May where I was like, well, here I go. My business tripled. And I have, like, what is it? You have to listen to your own advice. It's so hard.
Yes, sometimes you have to take your own advice. A lot of times that's the case. And sometimes you have to reflect on your advice and say that wasn't good advice.
Oh, God.
So, but that's the point of looking back at the last years and going, what did we do right? What did we not do so well? And how can we fix it? And how are we going to progress forward? Speaking about forward, the industry of social media and digital marketing is always evolving, and it has been a wild ride in the last couple of years and seems to be accelerating with the advent of new AI technologies. What is your viewpoint on the evolution of digital marketing over the next 3 to 5 years, and what are you doing in your company to address those?
I like that you use evolution because people always ask me for predictions, and I'm like, I don't even know what the algorithm's doing tomorrow. So don't ask me about 3 to 5 years. One of the things that has really helped me and us and anyone that I work with is just relieve the pressure of having to know at all times what's going on, and as opposed and just being open to just learning. So one day Facebook Meta will change their interface. Okay, how do we figure it out? Oh, this new trend's performing well. Great. So I guess we always stay informed from different types of news articles, and we do our own testing too because we have lots of accounts, and they usually roll out different features on different types of accounts. Um, it's funny that you mentioned AI because I guess with connection being the theme, who knows? Maybe someone's gonna replay this podcast in 30 years and be like, "Kyla, you were wrong," whatever. But right now, what I'm saying is that I don't think you will ever be able to replace a human connection with a robot or with something that's made. And so even with uses of them that can help make our life easier, right? But so that's the whole point. I don't think we're ever gonna be fully replaced, especially in this field, because there's not enough. How do you? I don't even know how this works. I'm bad at like math and science, but like there's never enough formulas and stuff you can input into the robot that will make the same reaction as a human connection, as a human emotion, as someone having an idea and writing it out. But in terms of how it'll evolve, I just definitely see it being more automated, but I also see it at the same time being more human. So I don't know, how to say, rewind, like 4 years ago, the content that was performing the best was prim, polished, awesome, like editorial content on social media. God forbid you ever see like, this thing in the background or like your books that look super cool and I want to read them all. And then now you see ads on Instagram or even YouTube or even now like some of the Super Bowl ads. If you start looking, I'm excited to see how they are this year, next year though, or this year, whenever people are listening. Anyway, you see people like in their room, you see people with the selfie. There's no filters. People don't have their makeup done. It's more real. And so people are craving that more as more of the AI and artificial is being introduced. So I see a push and pull.
It's very, very unique into the response, and I totally agree with it as to the give and the take and how it's going to go forward and how we're going to progress into the future. And the evolution of it is just that it's evolving, and I love that take of like looking at how things are changing because the world is changing every day.
Yes.
There's no way to keep it the same. There's no way to um, stay the same. If you are staying the same, you're not growing or changing and moving forward. So, what a great analogy. It has been a very great interview thus far, Kyla. How about we jump into our lightning round?
Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm nervous.
It's okay. The questions are really not that hard.
Okay.
Um, it starts off easy. Coffee or tea?
Coffee. Decaf. Not I'm anxious.
You don't need any more extra energy cost. Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
If you could grab only one weapon or item during a zombie apocalypse, what would it be?
Weapon or item? I don't know. Probably water. I'd be very thirsty.
Okay, very good. How about a favorite quote or phrase that you think about often?
Oh, okay. I don't know who said it, but I always remember it. It says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Yes, very, very nice one. I'll have to look that up and reference it. One book that has influenced your life the most.
Okay, this title's gonna sound cliche. Just read it. It's called The Secrets of Six-Figure Women. Awesome book.
Okay. And the biggest obstacle you have had to overcome and one lesson you have learned from it.
In life or work or in general?
In general?
Oh, okay. Well, 2 years ago, I had a very eh, intense health issue, and it affected every single area of my life, and I overcame it by going through it, but just keeping going. And it's taught me about resilience, about the importance of the people that you have around you, the quality of the people you have around you. Um, that health is more than just what you eat. It's where you want to walk, who you talk to, how you work, what you do. I don't know. Absolutely every single aspect of my life was turned upside down, and it's I still use the lessons I learned today, and it's also still a learn in progress. But not to get all crazy, but definitely up there is also moving. But that was more.
No, that's very good. A follow up to that, if I may,
Mhm.
is going through a journey like that is never easy for anybody. But as our guests are listening to this, as we wrap up the episode here, what was your North Star or, guiding light that helped you get through that? As you said, the whole idea was to just push through there. There had to be something you were looking at down the road. Us as humans want something to be striving forward towards. What was that?
In a weird way, future me, like what I knew I wanted to become or what I thought I could become after this. And then, of course, the people around me, because they saved me in multiple ways, and
Yes.
not just friends, family, professionals. The list goes on, but definitely that. And just, I was very, very like tunnel vision on the person I can become after this, or like, obviously, well, this is kind of something I'm working on. I'm a control freak, and I'm like, oh, I want to become that person. I want her to do this, 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 and that. Okay, so great. That's the plan. How do we do it? That's part of the journey, but also that helps me because I'm like, great, that's it. Let's move forward. How would that person behave, or etc.
Very, very, very powerful to go through that. Remember, everybody listening, that it is about the people that you are surrounding yourself with. That environment is so critical to your health, your successes, and everything about your life, whether you realize it or not. It's something to definitely pay attention to. Kyla, such a great conversation today. If our listeners want to get a hold of you or work with Clearly Creative, how would they do that?
You can find us on Instagram at clearcreative.co or on our website. Do I say the www now? I feel very old fashioned, but www.clearlycreativeco.com. And then you can message us through there. Yeah.
It's one of those things it's kind of fallen off the way, but
Yeah, I'm like, I'm definitely going to share that I'm not Gen Z by saying www, whatever.
it's no big deal. The people listening, at least the audience listening, I would assume are
Would appreciate the www.
either way, probably either way. So it has been such a great conversation so far. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. And for those of you listeners out there that are interested in more interviews from the Small Business Breakthrough, check out the playlist right here. And until next time.